Welcome back to RuskiWeldFab. Welcome back to the channel, guys. A long-awaited Brands Hatch summary vlog and stuff. First, I would like to apologize. I did not film much at all at Brands Hatch because for once I was really busy. Not that I'm never busy there racing, but I was actually really busy doing the different setups on the suspension and tires and pressures and everything, and it was a bit of a sort of headache to get it to where I want. I'll explain to you why I was doing that at Brands Hatch. So while I have you here, let's have a look what happened before the race and how did we make it.
That's a good one!
I would like to highlight the importance of nut and bolt check. You see all that oil dripping? The car has been sitting here obviously for a number of weeks and I didn't really notice it because obviously I didn't move it. There is a fitting leaking on my oil tank and I did not see it. As you can see, this tank has been made by fabrications, the same as that and that. Obviously they don't make the fittings and it's leaking a little bit, but unrivaled by customer service. Matt is on point. Literally spoke with him 5 minutes ago. He said not a problem, we'll send you a new kit for this it's basically the level indicator stuff. Should be with me tomorrow or on Tuesday, so plenty of time. Yeah, no, not a big deal. It wasn't a massive leak. It was just basically, I mean, it looks bad, but it's not really that bad. Maybe 50 grams sort of leaked out. Obviously, I didn't even see it inside the car.
Tomorrow.
Package arrived. Couple of leaking fittings. Very last minute, but plenty of time to fit this. So yeah, ANH Fabrication sent me the new tube and we replaced that. So that's absolutely all good. So now, this is why I was doing a lot of adjustments at the track. Some of my keen followers probably remember that I don't run anti-roll bar. And judging by the pictures, there is quite a bit of body roll, especially in really sort of slowish corners. So I want to eliminate that. I'm not sure why. I think the car handles absolutely brilliant. But because I have stiffer springs for the front and actually for the rear, we may as well try different setup. I realize it'll probably ruin the handling for Brands, but I'm willing to sacrifice whatever. So the springs now, they're 90, basically says 90 on them, so I think it's 9 kilograms per millimeter or whatever. So those are 110. So what I want to do, and I want to drop the ride height of the car evenly by about 5 to 6 millimeters, not sort of too picky about it. Let's take the old spring out, put the new spring in, and then we'll do all the measurements and basically a lot of guesswork on how low we want it to drop by millimeters on the coil and blah blah blah, and fingers crossed it will be okay. I do have my corner weighting set up here and I do have the strings, so I will be able to measure it, providing we have enough time before Brands Hatch, but I won't count on it. So let's get cracking. So just to recap, we put harder springs for the front. The reason being is that there was a lot of roll, I've noticed, at Cadwell, and I wanted to lower the ride height because as far as I could understand and as far as advice goes from some people in the know, I needed to reduce some pressure underneath to get rid of some of the drag so I can gain a bit more on top speed and increase the downforce. All technical, but basically I've been told try and reduce the ride height of your car sort of all round evenly. And in order to do that and not scrape every single corner, I figured we can probably put harder springs. So we did. And that's the reason why I was constantly changing and adapting at Brands Hatch, because obviously it's totally new setup and pretty much the whole suspension was probably off. And obviously I did not have time to check anything prior, so the only tools I had to play with was the damping settings and the tire pressures, and I think we dialed it pretty well. Last year when I made my engine mount and my gearbox mount, weight wasn't really a concern. What was the concern is the strength, and I think I've exceeded on that, and they are quite heavy. So the gearbox mount is 3.04 kilograms. It's a hefty chunk of metal. There's a few places which are not necessary at all. So let's try and lose some weight from this.
20 minutes later.
Well, after about 15 minutes of working the grinder, 267. Honestly, I thought it would be more, but 267 means that we're almost 400 grams. I want to say almost a kilo less, but that's not too bad. I honestly think that this low support for the gearbox, aka dog bone, is a little too heavy.
12 seconds later.
Well, another 150 or so grams saved without going too deep into it. Every little helps. Also, we did a little bit more carbon. Kind of light Rob when I said, oh, I'm not gonna film this. Would you like to play some carbon? My young apprentice decided to play some carbon, and now I'm filming. A small little part that is gonna be cut into a few different things. I'll show you when it's done, but yeah, it's looking good so far. You're doing great, Rob. Welcome. I've made two separate videos. Obviously, the flat floor is all full composite. There will be a separate video on that. And also my silly regulation workaround Kevlar seat, which is 300 grams. I'll make a separate video as well. So if you guys are interested, it will be somewhere in a playlist of time attack or building the fastest. But we've made some few additions. Side skirt extension just to trap the low pressure air underneath the car, and also those little kick plates, one on the rear, one on the front, just to sort of get the wake from the tires away from getting trapped and all that stuff. I'm not a professional, so I won't really know, but I think it works. Honestly, fucking hell, night and day. It absolutely purrs. Look at this. I literally just press start and like this. This is idle without adjusting. Look at it. And we are like at 12.5, 12. I mean, look at that. There is no vibrations, nothing. Jesus.
And now, a word from our sponsors.
Also, you're probably asking, why is this fancy new t-shirt Rusky sitting in? Well, yeah, that's new merch and they are available to buy, large size. I think I can get XL. But also we have new fancy hoodies, 2 different colors. I mean, isn't it a great design? Guys, if you want to support my channel, if you really like what I do and stuff like that, I'm making a little profit on this, obviously, but everything goes back into this thing. And they're only small batches of sort of merchandise. If you want to support me, leave a comment, find me on Instagram, or find a different way to contact me. Anyways, right, Brands Hatch. Okay, round 3. So what I'm gonna do is let's do a quick breakdown of what actually happened. It was quite an eventful round 3 and 4. So let's start with round 3. So as some of you probably know, time attack is divided, each round is divided into 4 sessions on the track. You have your warm-up, practice, qualifying and final. Qualifying and final, those are the ones that go towards your full championship with regards to the points. The warm-up and qualifying, warm-up and practice, they are basically free practice. You don't get the points, but you can still set a lap record, but usually nobody goes 100%. Anyway, so the idea of the warm-up session was to basically just make sure the car runs okay, because what I did from previous videos, you know that I fixed all the leaks on the manifold. I put a new gearbox, had a diff. Obviously the engine was out, so effectively it was a fresh build. So we needed to see how it all works and obviously bled in the clutch a little bit. So warm up, 9 o'clock, first session, and the car ran absolutely flawlessly. I really do enjoy working with this H-pattern gearbox, better than a dog box. And the new gearbox seems to be working absolutely brilliant. much better with shorter ratios, and obviously the diff is helping a lot. So I achieved my warm-up time of 54.56, but I know that last year I've achieved 53.02 or something, so pretty much that. So I knew there was a lot on the table that I've left. So then we had a warm-up session. We did a few changes with regards to tire pressures, and I didn't touch the dumping yet, basically just the tire pressures. Then in the second session warm-up, I did 53.23. So that was really, really close to my previous personal best. So that was all good. On the straights, I was doing 122 miles an hour. So after lunchtime, we are into qualifying lap, and I will talk through you while I'm watching it with you guys, if you don't mind. Alright, so we're crossing start-stop line at about 120 miles an hour. We're doing 129 before we brake, and then down into Paddock Hill Bend. Always a very scary corner, lots of cars being lost in there, and then I stay on the left for the Druids, touching the apex, going as wide as I can possibly be, switching to fourth gear, right, and then cutting the corner, apex, and then as wide as possible. Then we are on a straight, fourth gear, doing about 100 miles an hour. Little tap on the brakes, and then we go through the wiggly bit. I forgot the name of the corner. And on this corner, a really long Clark's bend, I think, always struggled. There's so many different lines. And then we're back on a straight, third, fourth, and then switching into fifth gear, crossing the line at about 120 miles an hour. So this was 52.50, and actually qualifying was better than my final lap. So the car was behaving absolutely brilliant. There's no issues whatsoever. So we did a few more changes. I think what I did, I softened the front a little bit, and I hardened a few clicks the rear, just to eliminate that tiny bit of understeer that we had left. So then comes the final.
Popping in and out of the
So we just crossed the start-stop finish line at about 124, hard on the brakes, down Paddock Hill Bend, again going as wide as possible, keeping the car straight, still in fourth gear, keeping it to the left, hard on the brakes, changing into third, miss the apex there, it's okay, going as wide as possible, fourth gear, keeping it to the right, then again apex, that cutting that corner quite nicely, on a straight, fourth gear, reaching about 100 miles an hour, lifting off slightly, cutting the corner into the whatever, and then Clark Bend. Again, always struggle with this one, but I think I got it pretty well this time. And then onto the straight, fourth gear, doing 95, 98, fifth gear, and we're crossing the start-stop line at 127 miles an hour. Okay. What you don't know from this lap is that I had a small issue, well, big issue. There was a bit of fire. Basically what happened is that sometime, some mid-session, I'm not sure when, the V-band clamp, it has a stainless steel nut on it. It either got loose or something happened. So basically the V-band failed and the downpipe came off. And at this point, I want to absolutely thank Funk Motorsport for providing such awesome products that I've been using on my car for so many years. Mainly it's the turbo blanket, because it definitely saved my bacon. As you can imagine, a blanket sits around the hot side of the turbo, and the way it's attached on mine, the downpipe, it's actually sitting slightly over the V-band of the turbo. When the V-band failed, basically the downpipe kind of came off, so all the hot gases were going past it, and they were basically contained inside the blanket. Without the blanket, that would be a big fire. I mean, as you can see, I'm showing you here now, there has been quite a bit of heat and fire damage on the blanket that is on my firewall that needs to be replaced. Obviously the blanket is trash, And I have to mention that Funk are amazing. My friends, they are sending me a new blanket, new Westgate blanket, and a bunch of other bits and pieces that I need to replace. So effectively what happened is that the biggest damage was obviously the blankets, but also we suffered some heat melting issue with the water hose that goes from the expansion chamber, but luckily it wasn't leaking, so we need to replace that. So Funk, I mean, absolutely thank you for, you know, making it so robust. I'm pretty sure anything else from eBay for £20 would just literally just burn and fall apart before that. So I have no idea how many laps I drove like that for. I can only assume at least 2, 3, maybe 4 laps before I actually started seeing a little bit of smoke coming from one of the holes in there, and I could actually smell sort of burning plastic. I did not hear a change in tone or anything else. It was still running as it should. I probably would have noticed it on the AFR gauge if I looked, but I didn't actually look. So yeah, but saying all that, this time 52.5 was actually my personal best, and that was enough for me to win second place in my class. And this one I consider to be a proper win, because not only my biggest competitor Darren Spooner, by biggest competitor I mean no match, I mean the guy is gonna win this season. I'm not fast enough. Anyways, it was 6 cars and I came second out of 6 cars, so that's an outright win, and we get a really nice cab that actually says second place on it, not third out of 3, but second out of 6, which is I'm chuffed with that. And obviously give you a cap and a bottle of bubbly. By the way, guys, I have a few of those now, because every time you're on the podium, even if it's undeserved, they give you another baseball cap. They're really cool. If you would like one, and if you want me to do a giveaway, let me know in the comments, and then I'll probably do a separate giveaway just for a baseball cap. That way you know that I'm not reviewing anything, I'm just giving you the baseball cap. Okay, so it was a bit of a struggle. I mean, we needed to fix all of those issues because we still had Sunday to run. So I found Luke gave me one of his old V-bands, and I basically used the nut from that. So I was able to sort of kind of jiggle things around and pull the blanket back over how it is, and sort of obviously the spring got stretched and everything, and we secured the V-band, and as far as I could see it was safe to run. So we obviously double nutted the old one. And then in the evening, torrential rain, absolutely. I was worried that, you know, that's it, no clear laps or no interesting racing gonna happen on Sunday, because I mean, come on, look at that. But come Sunday, sunshine in the air, everything is dry, and it's the biggest show that Time Attack has ever put in. I think they had more than 2,000 cars, and then like 30 clubs, you know, stands of food and stalls and public and people, and it was just absolutely amazing. At about 9 o'clock, they actually let all the public walk around the actual paddock. We were sort of in the pit lanes, all the cars lined up. It was absolutely amazing. Sort of a lot of people really interested, not only in my car, but every single car. I mean, all the cars are spot on. So this year, the level just definitely went up. Everyone who competes, guys, well done. I mean, it's a pleasure to look at every single car. So time was to do the warm-up. I basically stayed in the same boost setting and decided to just do a normal warm-up, so nothing really to talk about, and I basically managed to do a 53.04, so effectively that was my previous personal best, so good enough for a warm-up lap. I continue to slightly struggle with understeer, So basically we decided to make the front even softer, the rear even harder. So 2 more clicks on the front, 2 clicks on the rear. And I've raised the rear pressures. So basically we made the rear as hard as possible, the front as soft as possible, more or less. And went out again. And achieved 52.49. So that was my new personal best by 0.01 second. We beat the previous time. So I was chuffed with that because effectively the ultimate goal is to improve every single session, and that's what I was doing. So I was very, very happy, but there was still a bit of a weird feeling with the car. So what I've been suggested by Rob, you all know Rob, he said raise the wing, raise the wing. So I was like, all right, what's the worst that can happen? Time to do the qualifying laps and get all those points. You can see on this lap I'm chasing Darren Spooner. I'm still in one of the top positions on the boost. Hard on the brakes, down the hill again, keeping to the left. Hard on the brakes, druids, touching the apex very nicely this time, going really wide. And this lap is actually is my quickest, and it's actually the busiest, going around quite a few other super fast cars. On a straight, I'm actually doing 107 miles an hour. SRTs, keeping to the left, to the right, again, struggling with this corner. Touching the apex, and then hard on the gas. And you can see how far Darren is far from me. So we're crossing the finish line at 120 miles an hour and 52.25 according to TSL timing solutions. That is my absolute personal best, and this time I reckon was enough to secure me nothing. Actually, I came fourth, but there was still final to go. But again, another race car excuse. I think my tires are done. Basically, if you want to be competitive, you cannot have them 3, 4, 5 events. That's it. They're way past they do. Maybe 1 or 2 events you can actually set fast times when you're on basically on Sunday. This was a 5th event because we've done a Cadwell, we've done a track day, we've done 2 events, round 1 and 2 on those tires, we've done round 3 the day before, and now it's day 5. So no matter what I did, no matter how hard I tried, I just could not better my time. So let's have a look at my final lap, and it was still 52.26 according to this one, but funny enough, Optimal Laps has 51.73. So I could have done it, but I haven't done it. So let's watch this lap with you guys together. I just want to mention that I've tried to go into the full boost setting just for the final because I thought, what do I have to lose? And unfortunately, something weird going on. It's almost like it's a valet mode. When you put it into a full boost, it basically gives you 10 psi of boost. Nothing. That's it. And I was a bit like, So effectively, I don't have my highest setting, and I've been running on the second to highest setting for all day on Sunday, and those are the times that I achieved. And we've done it on a dyno, and it's about 380 horsepower on that setting. So I am quite far away from the 430 that has been upped at. So let's watch this lap. So we're chasing R33 GTR down the whole band, keeping to the left. There's a yellow flag, unfortunately. Norris is in the barrier. He's all right. So we're touching the apex, going really, really wide. I'm pushing as hard as I can. slamming into fourth, cutting the corner very nicely, going wide, on a straight, full gas, fourth gear, 90, 100, 108 miles an hour, slight lift off, surtees, keeping to the left, to the right, cutting it as much as possible, making it straight, then Clark bend. I think I was doing actually alright on this one. And we're on a straight, fourth gear, 90 miles an hour, waiting for those revs, smashing into fifth and crossing the start-stop line at 124 miles an hour. Like I said, I could not better my qualifying time, and I ended up being fourth in class. But in all fairness, the other two cars that I did beat, they're four-wheel drive sort of pro class machines. So
The signal to everybody around.
it's not too bad. We will be back at Brands Hatch sometime later this year. I can't remember when it is. I think it could be September. It might be September. So definitely I need to get my 51 seconds, because what I've been told actually on Instagram is that this is not the fastest clear around Brands Hatch. I know. The ELF Cup cars, the one with sequential professional drivers, you know, the works factory built race cars on slicks and everything. Apparently in 2010 in qualifying they were doing 52.17. So I am literally like a smidge, like you blink it and you miss it, kind of under that time. It was only two cars who did that, so I'm effectively third fastest. We need to get into 51 seconds because that will secure this thing as being the fastest. We'll see what happens, because Michael Taylor, he's fast. He's fast. I think I have more torque. That's what is helping me, at least on the straights. You've probably seen this, the lap, the side-by-side comparison. Terminal speeds, every single corner, we're very, very, very close. So it will be interesting to see what he can accomplish in Alton Park and Snetterton and Donington. Actually, I'm looking forward to Donington, but we'll see what happens. So yeah, guys, I'm sorry for this slight unconventional sort of vlog about Brands Hatch, but it is what it is. I figured this will do lots of onboard, lots of drive-bys, and I hope you enjoyed it. And once again, thank you very much for all of you who already purchased t-shirts and hoodies. This is great support from you guys. And if you want to buy one, you know where to find me. And guys, thank you. There's a few more things I need to do on the car, and I'll film that in the next few days, weeks. But until then, goodbye.